I only went home to grab a charger. What I found instead was a crowd of strangers clapping beneath a banner that said my ex had just agreed to marry my brother. It was supposed to be a quick stop. I'd been running errands all morning, and my phone was down to 4%. I remembered I left a charger in my parents' house, the spare one in the hallway drawer. That's all I was there for. 5 minutes max. But as I turned onto the street, I noticed something odd. Too many cars parked outside. Some I recognized. Most I didn't. I parked across the street, grabbed my keys, and crossed the lawn like I'd done hundreds of times since high school. That's when I heard the clapping. I followed the noise toward the backyard and stopped cold at the gate. A sea of white folding chairs, streamers, balloons, tables covered in catered food. And then, the banner. She said yes. Before I could process any of it, someone yelled, "There he is." I looked up. All eyes turned. Cameras were out. My mother was waving. Then I saw them. Mark, my younger brother, down on one knee in a giant photo printed across a 10-foot backdrop. And next to him, beaming in the picture, was Alyssa. My Alyssa. Or at least, she had been. We lived together for 2 years. Talked about a wedding. Talked about kids. She left a year ago saying she needed space. No drama. No big fight. Just silence. And now she was smiling from a giant photo, wearing my mother's pearls, with a ring I helped Mark buy 3 years ago when he needed a little help. My breath caught. Then my mom appeared beside me, smiling like it was the happiest day of our lives. "It's your brother," she said. "He's engaged. Isn't that wonderful?" I didn't move. Couldn't. She leaned in. "Oh, and we took a loan to help with the event. Used your name. It was the easiest way. Consider it your gift." I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I didn't say a word. I just reached into my pocket and unlocked my phone. My thumb hovered over a folder I hadn't touched in months, titled simply, "Proof." They clapped for him. They smiled at her. But when I said 5 words, everything stopped. My thumb hovered over the screen for maybe half a second. Then I tapped, opened the file, airdropped it to every device in range. Then I raised my head, looked at the crowd, and said, "Check your phones. Right now." At first, no one moved. They were too busy smiling, drinking, taking selfies with the happy couple. I watched Alyssa glance my way and then quickly looked down. Mark was laughing with someone from his old job. My mom was already walking away, waving at the DJ. And then, one guest picked up her phone. Her smile faded. Another looked at his screen, frowned, and turned toward Mark. By the third person, the energy shifted. Conversation stuttered. Laughter died mid-sentence. Confetti kept falling, now awkward, out of place. A man in a blazer stood and yelled, "Is this real?" Another guest asked, "Did he actually pay for all this?" One woman was already gathering her purse. And Mark, he still hadn't looked at his phone. But Alyssa had. She was pale. Frozen. She turned to Mark and whispered something sharp. He grabbed his phone, opened the file, and I watched the blood drain from his face. Page after page, text messages between them while Alyssa and I were still together. Her calling him baby a week after she moved out. My name on the event invoice. My signature forged on the $17,000 loan. By minute 12, the backyard was silent. Even the kids near the bouncy castle had stopped. I didn't wait. I turned, walked through the side gate, and stepped back into the quiet of the front yard. Behind me, people were arguing. I heard my dad shouting my name. I didn't stop. I'd done my part. Now it was their turn to feel what it's like to be blindsided. Used. Humiliated. The file was only the beginning. I had more. A lot more. And I wasn't afraid to use it. When truth explodes, it doesn't just burn liars. It scorches everything around them. By the time I reached my car, my phone was vibrating nonstop. Calls from unknown numbers. Messages from extended relatives. One text from Dad in all caps. "What have you done?" I didn't answer. Instead, I watched from the corner of the street as the party collapsed in slow motion. Guests were leaving. Some yelling. Some stunned. A few shouting at my mother. I saw my uncle throw the cake onto the lawn. Alyssa's boss stormed out, face flushed, heels stabbing the grass like weapons. But it was Mark's face that said the most. Confused. Then defensive. Then angry. Not sorry, just exposed. I drove away in silence. Not a victory lap. Just detachment. They weren't going to spin this one. Not with charm. Not with guilt. Not with that fake family unity they always paraded in front of others. 2 hours later, the group chat lit up. "Mom, fix this before it spreads." "Dad, you embarrassed your family." Mark, bro, talk to me. Don't be a coward. Me. No reply. Instead, I opened a new browser tab, created a public drive, and uploaded everything. Every screenshot. Every voice memo. Even Alyssa's journal entry calling me useful. I named the folder simply, in case anyone asks, the truth. Then I turned off my phone and went for a walk. Just me, the sidewalk, and finally, peace. That night, they tried calling again. 36 missed calls. I didn't answer. The next morning, I had coffee in silence. For the first time in months, I could actually taste it. Bitter, strong, real. Later that afternoon, I got a message from my lawyer friend. You ready to go nuclear? I was. Because burning bridges only hurts when you're trying to get back across. I wasn't. I was building something else, on my own. Without them, some dinners are meant to heal. Others are just slow-motion explosions served with wine. 3 days later, I agreed to dinner at my parents' house. Not to reconcile, to end it. They framed it as peace. Just us, no drama. Your father made steak. Even added, you owe us at least that. I showed up 10 minutes early. Not out of respect, out of control. I didn't want to walk into an ambush. Alyssa opened the door. Smudge mascara. Flat smile. No words. The table was set for 6. Mark sat at one end, arms crossed. Dad poured wine like it was Thanksgiving. Mom smiled like we were still pretending. She opened first. This was all a misunderstanding. The loan, we thought you said yes. Alyssa, things just happened. I said nothing. Not yet. She kept going. You two were over. Mark and Alyssa just clicked. We were trying to do something nice for the family. That word again. Family. As if it meant anything now. I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder. Neat. Labeled. Heavy with consequences. Dropped it in the center of the table. Dad frowned. What's that? Truth, I said. Page 1. The forged loan application with my name, but not my signature. Page 2. Email chains confirming Mom booked the party, billed it under my name, with Mark as co-payer. Page 3. A screenshot from Alyssa's messages. He's still paying off your car. You better pop the question before he grows a spine. Mark stared. Alyssa blinked fast. Mom gasped. Dad slammed his glass down. This is private. No, I said. This is fraud. This is betrayal. This is all of you turning me into your personal bank account. He snapped. So what? You want revenge? Embarrass us in front of everyone. I looked him dead in the eye. You already embarrassed yourselves. Then I pulled out one more document. A letter from the credit bureau. Fraud report filed. Dad's accounts frozen. Access revoked. Co-signing privileges terminated. Silence. Until a voice from the doorway. Hope I'm not crashing. We turned. Evan. Alyssa's ex holding his own folder. Thought someone else should speak. Every lie sounds clever. Until someone else shows up with the same story and the same scars. Mark stood so fast his chair scraped against the tile. Alyssa, what is he doing here? She turned pale. Evan, get out. You don't belong here. He didn't even flinch. Calm as ever, he placed his folder right next to mine. I thought the truth belonged everywhere, he said. Especially when the same person tried to wreck both of us. The room froze. Alyssa's fingers gripped the edge of the table. Mom looked between them, completely thrown. Dad muttered, what the hell is going on? Evan opened his folder and began laying out the pieces, one by one. She was living with me when she started texting him, he said, nodding at Mark. Same patterns. Same timing. Same lies. Printed screenshots of her messages followed. Same compliments, recycled. Same promises. Even the same picture, sent to both of us, weeks apart. She said your family would cover everything. That you'd never say no. He turned to me. She called you dependable. Said you'd clean up the mess. Alyssa finally spoke, voice shaking. Stop. This isn't your place. Evan laughed once. Wasn't your place to wreck my life either, but here we are. Then came the kicker. A note Alyssa left on his laptop. Handwritten. Sloppy. Furious. He's a safety net. His family is rich in guilt. Mark didn't move. He looked like a man who'd finally realized the house he built was made of paper. Mom tried to regain control. We can talk about this later. No, I said, standing. We're done with later. Mark's voice cracked. So what? You're just walking away from all of us. Over her. I stared at him. She was my ex. You lied. You stole. You used my name to buy her a future I never agreed to. He looked away. You deserve each other, I added. And everything that comes with it. Then I walked out the door. For the last time. They thought I was the one who'd never leave. So I made sure there was nothing left to come back to. By the next morning, my phone had 36 missed calls. Mom, Dad, Mark. Even a blocked number I assumed was Alyssa calling from someone else's phone. I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I made coffee, bitter, black, and sat in silence. Then I started deleting. Voicemails. Gone. Shared bank account? Closed. Emergency contact info? Updated. Health insurance. I removed them all. I was no longer their sponsor. The family car Mark drove? It wasn't in his name. I signed it over to a veterans charity. Let him figure it out when he found the driveway empty. Credit cards co-signed with my name? Cut and shredded. Utilities at Mom's house? Transferred out of my name. Netflix, Prime, Hulu? Closed. Every login they'd freeloaded for years, gone in a single afternoon. This wasn't revenge. It was severance. Then I called my lawyer. You remember that old trust Grandpa mentioned? The one I was attached to with the rest of them. I remember, he said cautiously. I want out. I'm not here to inherit. I'm here to detach. It took a few days, but we did it. The trust was restructured. My assets legally isolated. No more shared credit. No more shared access. No more silent obligations that could twist into guilt. The next week, I moved. Just a few neighborhoods away, but it felt like a new planet. Exposed brick walls. Full sun. No one else's name on the lease. Top floor. Underground parking. Quiet. It was the kind of place I'd once dreamed about but never allowed myself to have. Because I was too busy being useful, being dependable, being the only one who understands. Now I understood something else. I was never part of a family. I was part of a system, and I just shut the whole thing down. They thought they could write the ending, but I had the pin all along. 3 days after I moved, my neighbor at the old place called. Some guy's banging on your old door like it owes him money. It was Dad. 2 days later, Mom left a note on the welcome mat of my new apartment. Please don't do this. But I hadn't. They had. I spent the next few weeks in silence, rebuilding. I finally took that solo mountain trip I'd put off for years. No phone. No updates. Just fresh air and peace. When I came back, 2 emails waited. The first, from the private investigator I'd hired. Dad tried applying for another business loan. Flagged. Denied. His credit was frozen due to the identity theft investigation. The second, from Grandpa's lawyer. The trust had been officially severed. My portion reallocated under new terms. No cosigners. No loopholes. No family strings. Then, a knock. Megan, Alyssa's sister. I'm not here to cause trouble, she said. She moved back to Ohio. Blames you for everything. She paused. But I know better. She always said you'd never fight back. That you were too desperate to be loved. I nodded. She was right, until I wasn't. That evening, I did one last thing. I packed a small box, some tools, an old photo, a pair of sunglasses Mark once borrowed and never returned. Then I drove it to a veterans donation center. Inside was a note. For someone who never had help, not for someone who abused it. I didn't leave a return address. Back home, I made coffee, just for me. No calls. No drama. No family scripts. For once, I felt free. And when Mark texted me a week later, she's gone. I hope you're happy. I smiled. Because I wasn't happy. I was whole.